Hi, I'm Paulina.
Hi, I'm Bricia.
And we're sisters, friends, daughters, wives, and business owners.
And we're just following our dreams, working to be a better version of ourselves every day. All right. And we're also moms.
Welcome to the Super Mama Sisterhood.
Hi, Blanca.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming. I'm so excited to have you. I'm such a fan.
Excited to be here.
I'm a fan of yours.
You are?
Yeah, of course.
No, we're not going that far.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about you. How many kids do you have? Who do you live with?
Oh my God! So
Tell me
I have
everything.
a little bit of a small circus, but I live with my husband, beautiful husband, and I have 3 beautiful children. have twin girls who are
Sainties.
9. Yes.
You have twin girls.
You have
Yes,
twins?
they're 9 now. I think acting like 13, but
God.
working with that piece of it. And then I have this magical boy, Mateo. He has special needs. He has Down syndrome, and he has been the joy of our family. And then we have I always say we have our little, our secret weapon is our nanny that lives with us. She's been with us for 10 years.
She lives with you?
Yeah,
Oh my God.
she's been with me since Mexico, when I lived in Mexico. So that's our family unit. We've been
Yeah.
together since everything
that's so
started.
awesome.
How old is Mateo?
Mateo's 7 years old.
Oh, wow.
And he just got an award last week. I'm so proud.
Oh,
For good, positive attitude and hard work.
Oh, that's amazing.
It was like everything I always cherish and try to instill in him, and he's
It's
rocking
amazing.
it. Yeah,
Congratulations to you, too.
thank
Because,
you. It was a proud moment. It was a
it's-
mama moment.
Yeah, the kids are a reflection of ourselves. Ay,
Yes.
Dios mío.
No, pues
yeah.
I know. My kids
Too
are.
independent till I'm like, my mom used to tell me that you're so independent. Now I see it with the girls and Mateo. I'm like, oh my God.
How
I'm
is
gonna
it
pay
like to have
everything.
twin girls?
It was at first, I was hospitalized for 8 weeks.
Wow.
They're called Momo twins. They're even more special. It's 1 placenta, 1 bag, so nothing basically separates them. So only 400 pregnancies a year. Can you believe that? And that's, of course, me.
Oh, my God.
So the only thing they know is that at week 25 to 26, they hospitalize you and they attach you to these gadgets, and they monitor their heartbeats because there could be cord compression, cord entanglement. So that journey started there. It was
my.
beautiful with them because, at first I can't stand still. I run 100 miles an hour. So I've had to learn to pause,
Yep.
And then I really started focusing on them and spending the time with them for 8 weeks in a hospital. And then they were in the NICU. They were 3 little pounds. But it has been a beautiful thing, but also a challenging thing. They both have their personalities. They have this love-hate relationship every day.
Are they what are they called? Fraternal twins? Or the twins
Identical.
have identical
They're
twins?
And even
wow.
more connected because, like they said,
Yeah.
I have actually ultrasounds of them hugging.
Oh,
Stop.
my
I have to
God.
send them to you guys.
Yes, please.
Yeah, it's
What?
incredible. Yeah, it's not
My
many people
heart.
could say that. Yeah, they're hugging, and some of the ultrasounds I have.
How do they get along now?
That's what I'm saying. It's like they pull their hair now. They love each other, but they cannot be away from each
Yeah,
other for a
yeah.
minute.
Do you show the picture? Look, you hugged her when you were
Yes.
inside of
And
me.
I tell
Get
them,
over
I
it.
put up with a lot already from the beginning, so you guys have to be nice to me. Yes,
Wow.
it's incredible. It's been, I feel like I've had an incredible journey with my 3 kids, the twins, and then Mateo. Just also incredible stories, even before he was born, that I experienced. So it's just
Tell
been
me some of the
magical.
stories about Mateo, because I find you in Mateo's story fascinating, and also just the way that you speak of him and how he is as a person. It's so it is magical. He is like a magical child.
Yes. And I tell you, it started before. Like I tell you, I lived in Mexico, and I was in el mercado buying, fresh fruit for the kids. And it got really hot, so I sat down. I was about six months pregnant, and I was sitting down just waiting for my husband to finish. And then all of a sudden there was a mom and a son. They passed by me and they were holding hands, and the little kid let go of the mom's hand and he ran to my belly and hugged it. But the craziest thing was that when he looked up, he had Down syndrome.
Oh, my God.
I didn't know anything at that moment, so it was one of those things that stayed very present for me and Peter, my husband. And then when he was born, they basically, told us after 3 days in the hospital that there was a 50-50 chance that he had Down syndrome. He had some characteristics, but not fully developed, so they didn't know. And he was 5 pounds, so he was little. So then, Peter and I, of course, being parents, with the angst and the worriness, but we grabbed our son. We were in the car. I was in the back, and then Peter was in the front driving, and then we saw each other in the mirror, and we both started crying because we knew, we don't need a blood test. We know that our son has Down syndrome, because there was that moment that connected us back. So there's been a lot of crazy moments that way, and even when I was in high school, I was always very active in high school as senior president, and I always want to hopefully, represent everybody and fight for everybody's rights. And I remember I used to have a friend, Larry, who's still my best friend's cousin. He's 40 now. He had Down syndrome, and I used to always protect him from everybody, because kids, of course, could be mean sometimes.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was 18, I even said to myself, I want a child with Down syndrome so I can change the world. So.
Aww.
You're so oh my God, stop it. Like, you're so incredible.
So he's helping us change the world.
Yeah.
And everything, even when after, we went to the doctors and they confirmed it.
Yeah.
And now I'm part of the Special Olympics board, and I've been working with some of the hospitals, because they, instead of telling us, of course they have to tell you everything that could happen, and the things that you have to worry about with, his condition. But my husband, we're very positive people. He looked at the doctor and said, "Do you have anything positive to say?"
That's
That's
that's so good.
That's so true, though.
Yes. And then he was like kind of floored, and I've kind of been talking to a lot of the hospitals to say, hey, we need better education around this, how to help parents, because most of the time they don't, they make you so scared. And what I've lived, yes, there's moments that there's challenges like anything, raising a child, or you go through other things, but in general, it's been one of the most rewarding, best experience of my life. And that's kind of what I want to make sure I project to every woman that has a child, and even a child with different disabilities. I know, we all go through it, but I think the attitude and being able to show that light, that's kind of where my mission is with him.
Yeah. I think as a mother, you become your child's advocate. There's nobody that's going to fight for your child more than you.
No.
So I think it's just, it doesn't matter what your child looks like, has. For you, it's the most perfect child, and you're going to defend that child for.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
I think that's the tiger,
oh, yeah.
Comes out of every mom. We love our children, and we want to make sure that they're set up in this world for a better world, right? And I strive for that for him, and then for the girls,
Yeah.
Being a woman, being Latina, there's still a lot of opportunities in this world for us. So that's the things that I strive for, is to hopefully be role models for my kids, but also a role model to our communities.
Yeah.
Wow.
How did you start your career? Where did you start your career?
Where do you work? Tell us
I
where
started
you
when
work.
I was 2. My mom was a seamstress, really, and she actually makes her own clothes. She's so creative, and I've loved product since I was 2. And we came from, I came from Mexico when I was 3. I'm the youngest of 5, and of course, we come all for this American dream. We didn't have a lot of money. So I had Barbies, but I didn't have money to buy clothes for Barbies. So my mom would bring me all the, extra scraps, and I would make my own Barbie clothes. So at 2 years old and 3, I was making my own Barbie clothes. So I always
you were a
that
Barbie fashion designer at 3.
Yes, plaids. No. So I think that's where it all started, my connection to product. And then as as life went by, I've always, I was in high school, and me and my sister, we were really united. We're 2 years apart, and we were the first that we said, we're going to go to college, we're going to change kind of the way, kind of trajectory our family's been, because no one had been to college from the United States. We were all immigrants. We were still, my parents didn't know English, and all these things. So we made a pact. And then when I went to high school, and I'll never forget this, my high school counselor told me I wasn't college material. And it's unfortunate, but I talk to a lot of kids today, and it still happens. And it drives me insane. So when I went home, my sister, that I said is 2 years older, Diana, she's like, what's wrong with you? Why are you so sad? And I said, well, my counselor just told me this. She's like, oh no, girl, we're going to make this happen. And you and I are going to stick together, and we're going to do it. And we were the first to graduate college. Now she's a teacher. She's an educator. Always tried to make me be the student. I didn't want to be the student. I wanted to be the creative. So it's interesting that we're both doing our passion, we're driving our passion. So it's really, really great. So that's kind of my journey started there. And then since I was little, I've always liked to work. So I started working when I was 14. It's a funny story, but I started
What's your first job?
you're not gonna believe this. I worked at a car wash. And you're not gonna believe the skill sets I learned because he was our family doctor. And
Wait, the car wash owner was your family doctor?
yeah.
Oh.
He owned a car wash.
Yeah, like very diverse.
He had a side business,
Yeah.
a car wash. But
Diversify always,
yes,
you know?
And I told him, I said, hey, I really want to work. I want to make money to buy my own things. Because my parents, they could provide me food and shelter. But, it was middle school going into high school, brands and everybody wants to look cool. So he's
You
like.
want your Guess jeans.
Yes. Guess shirts. That's what I would
That's what happened.
the 90s.
Yes.
And, so then my first job there was actually writing tickets, okay? So there was a 3-star and a 4-star and a 5-star. And if I sold 5 stars, he would give me an extra $1.
Ooh.
So, girl, I sold all the 5 stars.
So you were hustling.
Yeah. So I was not afraid to, I learned to communicate.
Yeah.
I learned to talk to people. I learned to not be afraid to use my voice and convince people. So I became a salesperson.
And to upsell
Yes,
more than
upsell,
anything.
yeah. And I look back at that experience and I was like, wow, you would not believe all the fundamentals that it taught me. And then from there, I went to high school, and then he started giving me a lot more responsibility over the weekends. I actually managed the car wash. I would make all the deposits and manage the workers. And I was 16, 17. I didn't even know what I was doing, but I learned. And, then I went to college, and then I was in an interview for The Gap to work as a seasonal help. And then, of course, I got the job, and then 6 months later, I'm like a store manager. But I learned, it was really because of those bases, So my career has always started
fast-paced.
I started in retail, product, The Gap back then. It was everything the 90s, the jean wall and the white T-shirts. And then from there, I went to the fashion industry. I worked in fashion consulting. And then one day, my girlfriend sent me the first job I had at Nike, which was entertainment marketing, which is running their whole showroom for all the influencers and, tastemakers and talent in the city. And I even told her, don't be sending me this at work, And then it rained in LA. You guys know this. It never rains in LA.
Yeah. So it was the one time it rained in LA, and I still remember that day.
Yeah, I still remember. And I was like, I did pause because I had nothing to do. Nobody, in LA, nobody goes out. And I was looking at the profile of the job, and I was like, oh my God, this is so me. I should apply. So I applied, and 2 weeks later, I get a call, and 18 years later, I'm here. So it's been an incredible journey. It's been a full circle. I've been able to do incredible things with the brand. I've worked in Mexico, which is a personal and business thing I've loved. I've worked global. I've worked geographies. I've worked in women's and sportswear. I've done several amazing jobs, and today I'd say I'm in my dream job. I always wanted to be the GM of Los Angeles because I love the city. I'm Angelino at heart, and I just wanted to come back to do what's right for our communities, and show that there's so much potential in the city. And it's been exciting to see the last 4 years that my team and I have really put LA on the map. So it's been
awesome.
A great journey.
What does your job entail as a GM of LA?
Oh my God, it's
what is your day? What are your days like? What is it? I have this fascination with corporate culture myself. I always picture myself as a corporate executive. Obviously, you wear Nikes every day, but in my mind, I was wearing a suit and high heels every day, and you know what I mean,
Yes.
that idea. Is it like that?
It is with sneakers, but it is every day is different. I think I always say this to everybody, being the GM of Los Angeles, you are working with our global to geography, teams. I'm working on strategy, but then you're also running a facility. You're running the team here, so it is not only about business, it's about team. And then typically that's the job at a corporate, but then as the GM of Los Angeles, you have another layer, which is being part of the communities, right? Being part of government and talking to our mayors, and strategizing how we want to leave the city in a better place, and utilizing a lot of our efforts that we have at Nike to be able to hopefully give youth more opportunities. And, and I think bringing sport to them is so critical. I think about nowadays, they're taking PE programs and all this stuff, and we have more mental, health issues and I really do believe sport is important just to play, to move, I think it helps you. I know that when I don't go work out, I feel a little edgy, so I think it's so important, and that's kind of the power that we're trying to do is really bring sport to everybody and create access to sport. So my job is multidimensional. I meet with people incredible people. I meet with youth. I meet with the city officials. I have, meetings with our leadership team and campus, and then we talk about amazing opportunities, not only for Los Angeles, but how we can move and transcend North America and even the world. So those are the things that we do on a constant basis.
We were at dinner not long ago, and we spoke about the importance of play and sport. And I know that's a huge initiative that Nike has right now. I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about that and what we learned from that dinner, or what you guys took away from the dinner.
For me, it was such a magical dinner and moment because, like you say, most people, you could tell genuinely people are so involved and they want to create a change, and they know this is critical for our next generation, right? So I think that was the most thing magical about that dinner, that everybody was so engaged. And I think now it's like, how do we bring it forward, right? I think for us, if we just look at Los Angeles landscape, we see, there's a lot of girls dropping off, 2 times the rate than boys. So how do we create, implement these new ways of hopefully, training female coaches? We're training female coaches. We're working with the mayor's office, and our city teams to really create female coaches, because we believe female coaches not only become a coach, but they also become a role model, and they also become a mentor, right? And more, you guys know this, growing up in the city, not a lot of them reflect like us. We need to help Latinas or anybody from all walks of life to really be able to see themselves. So I think that's the biggest thing that we're doing. And then when we start mapping LA, you look at the different neighborhoods and pockets, and there's areas, as you guys know, that it's there's lack of access and there's not a lot of participation because it's expensive now to play sports. So how do we bring sport into those areas, right? And then, like you say, and then the third is just really being very thoughtful how we work with the city to help amplify these things, and this messages. Also, we're working with, like, eventually we'll work with LA 2028, as they kind of launch. There's going to be opportunities to bring more sport. I mean, a lot of these kids are already telling us they want to be the next Olympians for our city, which is an exciting time.
That's
I think
so
it's a call to action for all of us as as community leaders and people that love this city. Our kids are telling us hopefully they can have the access and the opportunity to play sports. So hopefully one day have that dream.
I know. I realized during that dinner how different we grew up from the way our children are growing up.
Yes.
Because we had so much playtime. Oh my God, I remember like our legs would hurt at night, and my kids don't have that anymore. During their book tour, somebody asked me, like, what's your favorite thing? Like, why do you like your children going to Mexico? And I was like, oh, because they're free. Yeah. Because they're free to run and play. And that's something that we don't have here. And during that dinner, it got me thinking, like, oh my God, that's true. Like, my kids don't go out and, juegan a las agarradas, a las escondidas, y like just run and burn that energy that they have, and they're just stuck in a screen sometimes, a lot of the times. And then, it's just so different. Like, we're improving in so many ways, but we're also lacking in some other ways. And I love it that you guys are like bringing that back, because that's giving us like awareness as parents,
Yeah, and like you say, making it fun, I think we're all competitive, but also just keeping the fun.
Not all, honey. Not all, okay? Blanca's like, I won, right? I won this interview, right? I'm like, no, it was an interview, Blanca. It's not a contest.
Yeah, so I think it's that, and I think that's that huge opportunity that we do in general. Like, that's our biggest, I'd say, mission.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
I want to talk about also like your career and what it was like to work in corporate America. And do you have any advice for young women today who look like us, who are starting off in their path? I'm assuming you probably were in instances when you were not only the only woman in the room, but probably the only woman of color in the room.
Yes.
So, and people always talk about those experiences, but because my sister and I don't come from that world, I always love to hear other people's experiences, because it can help someone else who's listening today.
No, most definitely. I mean, I have a lot of experiences. I think the biggest ones that I would say is I was very fortunate. I think every woman that's listening to this, make sure you have a mentor, or somebody or even your peer or your girlfriend that can really help you through, these tough challenges that you might face as you're developing and growing and trying to figure out. So I had really good mentors throughout my career, where they gave me tough love, which I think is important, because we also have to be self-aware of our strengths, but our opportunities, right? So I think being able to have somebody that can really help you through those times, I think is critical. The other thing I've had to learn, and I think culturally too, us Latinas, they teach us to be humble, to work hard, and that's all important. But I think I've also had to really enable myself to learn to have a voice. And I would tell Latinas, don't be afraid to use your voice and being authentic and being who you are. I mean, I can tell you that when I started Nike till today, I hope people would say this, but I do believe it. I've been always, proud of my heritage, proud of who I am, and really showing corporate America what our culture is and how beautiful it is. And there's so much opportunities with us, right? So I think being able to use your voice and not be afraid to use a voice. And I think it gets scary at times, but I've had to work through that piece of it. And I think when you face also adversity, because like you say, and it was the opposite. When I worked in Mexico, I was the only woman director. It was all men, and not to generalize the country, but there was a little bit more stereotypes, and a little bit more machismo.
Not to start as a country, but let me tell you how it really is down there.
Yes,
we know.
It was really, really tough, and I remember. My first 3 months, I really thought, because I know the language, I'm Latina, I'm from Mexico, I was born there. I realized, it was completely a different experience for me, and I was struggling, and I remember, and I'll never forget this, one of the directors grabbed me, and he's like, hey, he goes, you're here for a reason, right? And I said, of course. He's like, because I was running sportswear. That's always been, the sneaker culture thing is my thing. I love sneakers. And he's like, you're here for a reason. You're hired to do a great job. And he's like, and I believe in you. So he goes, go home, relax, and come back and just prove to them that that's what you're here for. And I just took that notion, and I didn't let the noise get to me. I was there for a purpose, and I was helping drive and create change, and I helped even in the office to create change, because there's things that we grew up with, things that were the norm. So I tried to instill that, and 4 years later, like when I was leaving, I had men crying, so it felt really good. So I was I was like, but it was the most also amazing experience too. I mean, I got to experience my whole country, travel, perfected. I think now probably not so much, but my Spanish, I started forgetting my English. But it was a wonderful experience from a business perspective, and getting to know, the Nike globally at a different lens, but then also learning about myself and my culture, and being even more connected to my roots than I've been. So it was, and then I met my husband there, so it was meant to be.
Were you already had kids when you were there?
I met my husband there.
Yes, you said you were pregnant.
So then we had the twins, and then I had the twins here because it was a high-risk pregnancy. Then I had them here, and then went back to Mexico. So the girls lived actually their first 18 months in Mexico.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome.
How did you channel that frustration out? Because I understand someone telling you, hey, do this, and then come back, take some time. But I don't think it's as easy as going home and being like, okay, great pep talk. Now I'm going to change the world, right? What did you do to help channel out that frustration?
I think one of the biggest things that I've tried to do is not let the noise get to me first. It's hard. I always tell people, don't let anybody win you. Because you don't want to give your power away. Your power is your power. So the most things I try to do when I face a lot of hard things is just even sometimes laugh. Laughter is really good. It helps. It cures a lot of it. Eases things. And then I'm very purposeful. So one of the things I've learned is to be very strategic. So there's a lot to do, right? And everything from our lives as being moms to the career that we're living. But I try to be very strategic. I go, what's going to have the biggest impact, right? To drive the business or drive the business, the people's needs, right? And I really focus on those things, and drive that impact and stay focused. And then you start seeing like the results. And I always say results, can't lie. So I think those are the biggest things I do, is tell people like work hard, be strategic, and show results, and all those things, everything else starts mounting up, So, and I try to deal with those things, because like you say, if you let the noise get to you and everything, you're not going to accomplish anything. So think about your purpose, think about what you want to do, and drive those things, and stay with them. Don't let the things like what people say to you or what people think. It's like, no, just know and believe in yourself and believe in your purpose. And I do believe like some way the path opens up, and you have bumps along the way and you learn from them, but that's kind of have channeled my, I think the adversities I face. And And I try to always educate and try to be positive. I think it's because if you're become part of that negativity, then you kind of go spiral, right?
What are some of the things that you do? Like, I mean, from what you're telling me, your life just sounds like so busy. I mean, I'm sure you're like, how do you take care of yourself? How do you try to like balance and keep it? Because, you know, every time I've seen you, you're always smiling, you're always happy. And, you know, that's what I want to do, because sometimes I'm just so tired and stressed, and I'm just like, I don't want to talk to anybody right now. You know, don't even look at me right now. And I'm still like,
I have those days too.
You know? But what do you do to just take care of yourself?
I think, you know, and I learned this from a great mentor too. I was always the first one in, the last one out. You know, it's like I wanted to work hard and prove myself. And you know, she taught me. She's like, you know, Blanca, like there's always these like peaks, right? There's never valleys, right? And when there's a valley, she's like, take advantage and not feel guilty. I think women, we tend to feel really guilty
all the time.
And today, you know, I try to spend like, even in a week, I go get my nails done or take a massage or do something for myself without the kids, without the husband, without anything. And I pause for myself. And honestly, that's given me so much energy, and it's made me reflect and be in, like you say, in a better mood. Because when I didn't have that, I was grumpy, I was tired, I was angry, you know what I mean? And now I've learned to pause and take care of me and not feel guilty about it.
Yeah.
It's taken me a long time, and sometimes I work on it and then I schedule it too. I put it on my Outlook, I make it a priority. And now, like, more and more, you know, I find those moments, and I feel like those are the things that I've been trying to do to like have my peace of mind. But I think it's important for women, and I think for us, especially, you know, our audiences here, like, we tend to always give everything. You know, I give, but it's okay to receive, and it's okay to receive for yourself, you know? So I think those are the things
that's so important.
Yeah. And not feel guilty. I think that's the most important thing, and not to be too hard on ourselves.
How do you instill that into your children? Because my sister and I always have this conversation about, you know, we come from immigrant parents. We saw firsthand how they work. We saw firsthand the sacrifice, the growing up with the need of going to work at 14 years old because you didn't have 10 pairs of shoes.
Yeah.
You know? Today we're so blessed with great careers, with a wonderful family, with support system, with friends, with abundance, with Amazon delivering something in your door and
Postmates
1 hour.
Yeah.
How do you instill that ethic, work, commitment, values into your children?
You know, it's something I deal with every day, and I would also say I talk about it every day, and I talk it to all my friends too, and I always ask them, because I think that's something, it's a journey, right?
Yeah.
And the only thing that makes me feel proud, you know, is that the girls and, you know, Mateo, they're like, their core is family, and and for me, like, I'm like, okay, and they've said this to me, they're like, Mommy, that's not my life, that was your life, sorry, you know? Yes, because I used to tell them, I'm like, Mija, I only got one Christmas gift, and you have like 3, so you should, you know. And they're like, Mommy, that's your life, but that's not my life.
Oh my God, they say that.
Yes,
I haven't gotten that yet. They're like, I'm like, you don't know what it was like living with grandma.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah.
Or when they get mad when you pull their hair.
Yeah.
Like when I brush my kid's hair because he has long hair, he's like, "Oh, Mommy, that's so hard." I'm like, "Si supieras, like, but it really it's like to get your hair like."
Y la chancla.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. When was it the other day? I don't know, what were we watching? I don't remember. Anyway, it was a funny video on TikTok or something, and there was someone that came out, Michael Myers, right? During Halloween, but then the mom came out with a chancla, and my daughter, she was, Mommy, it's because she doesn't know the power of the chancla, and I was like, yes, like. The chancla against Michael Myers. No, nobody wins against the chancla. All right.
That's so
I know,
funny.
and they.
Yeah,
But
so I think what I try to instill, like you say, is values, you know, and I do, you know, we still have family in Mexico. My husband's from Colombia, so we go down there and, you know, we do work around the communities and give back. So I think they know, I think, and you know, they're 9, so they're still learning, but I do believe that they know that, you know, they have a lot more than a lot of people do. And then I make them donate their toys and clean and then go and, give it to a local organization and stuff. And then more and more now I want them to do volunteer work. I was waiting for them to get a little older, but I want to make sure that they're out there, giving back to the communities. And those are the things I think will help them, realize, like you said, I don't have the solution. If you guys haven't, please let us know.
No, we always have conversations.
Yes.
We always ask the question because I want to know what other women are doing, or especially women that come from immigrant households when you had nothing. And I think it was that out of that way, what made us who we are today. So I just wonder about the privilege that they're growing up in.
And I don't give them everything. They have to work for it. I say every week if you do X, Y, and Z, you get, $2, $3, and they save up, and then they buy their things. And I make them use their money. I take the money from them, because they have to understand value. And I think more and more they're starting to see that. But I do a lot of those things. I just don't buy them everything, don't give them everything. And then I make them say, hey, you have to do, try your best at school, get good grades. And then also I always say do chores in the house, and then, we'll give you some incentives, but then, you have to use your money for those things there. You got to earn these things.
Remember when I was growing up, when we had to have good grades, and it was up until we moved here, but in Mexico we always had to have good grades.
In Mexico, but here, they were too worried. They were
too
busy. They were too busy.
Oh yeah.
But I remember if I had a bad grade, my dad would be like, "What else do you have to do? Are you working?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Not yet." But at 8, when we started working, I was like, "Yes, I am." But it's also. I always ask myself that question. I'm like, are they learning that? Are they learning? I started working really young too. So now that my daughter reached that age where I started working, which was 8 years old, I'm like, should I start having her work? Should I take her to the restaurant and do real work? Not just come with me and sit right next to me, but actually doing things. Is that going to look bad? Are people going to start telling me that I'm exploiting my child? I mean, it's just, I want her to grow up with that same responsibility. She helps me a lot. She does, her bed, and she serves cereal to her daughters, to her sisters. But outside of the house, is it too early? When is it too early? Not. It's just so much that goes through my mind now because I want her to have that same love for work that we do. And it's hard here.
It is. And that's what I say. I don't think there's that perfect formula. I think you just got to keep trying and teaching them and letting them see the world in different ways, and letting them hopefully understand how privileged they are in so many ways. Because like you said, there's a lot of kids. I always tell them if you're going to eat the food, you eat it all, because there's so many kids that don't even have an apple in a week, you know what I mean? So I always try to teach them, and I show them videos, but it is a continuous, and I don't think there's a perfect formula for it.
Like a great poet once said, un poeta mexicano, los caminos de la vida no son como yo pensaba. Okay. I have one last question for you. Well, 2 last questions for you. Number 1, are you loving anything right now? Are you absolutely fascinated, in love with something? You're so into something right now?
Anything.
I mean, could be a show, could be a book, could be an app. What are you absolutely loving right now?
Oh my God. My kids, I'm
really into my children.
No, but I love right
a
now.
Book, a show?
We love cooking.
Oh, awesome.
So, and the girls love cooking with us. We could make from desserts to cooking at home. I want them to have that essence of family and cooking together. So, and the good thing is my husband too really likes cooking now too. So we do a lot of cooking together.
That's
and
awesome.
I'm into it. We look up, hopefully, I'll get some of your recipes in the book. But we try to do fun things, recipes, try to cook together. I think that's one of the things I'm into right now. Because, like you say, I'm so busy. I try to find the moments, and I try to put moments that are quality with the family. And I don't know, the kitchen, I think for Latinos has always been a thing, for us. But the kitchen and the food and all that, it all comes together. And we have some amazing times. We laugh, we dance, we listen to music, and we cook.
I love that.
So I'm so into that.
I know. One last question, I promise, and we'll let you go. How many pair of Nikes do you have? How many? What does your closet look like? How do you keep them together?
Here's my closet.
How do you keep them
organized? So I have over 300 pairs.
What? And how do you pick what to? Do you ever have dirty shoes on?
Well, I have pictures with Polaroids on the shoes, right? So I know.
I
which
love
one.
that. Yeah.
So I've been Nike 18 years, and then the funny story is when I went to Mexico, I didn't even take half of my collection. I took about 150, and it got stopped. And the head of HR from Mexico calls me, and she's like, "Blanca, they don't want to, send your customs doesn't want to send your stuff." And I was like, "Why?" They're like, "Because there's 150 pairs of Nike size 7, and and I'm like, "They're all mine. You better bring them back." I was like, "Whatever you can, you have to get my shoes." So
I don't care about anything else. Just my shoes.
Leave everything
Yeah,
behind.
that's what
I
I need my shoes. And now my garage, half of my garage is all sneakers.
Can you imagine when your daughters wear a size 7?
Yeah, I have to put locks probably because and then there's some on ice that I don't wear. I actually there was
On ice? Is that like a term?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a term. It's basically like hot heat product that is going to be worth something. You just don't wear. You lock it up. You keep it on ice. And then when
I thought literally it was an
Yeah.
ice.
I was like, you keep it in ice.
a fridge?
Is that like a way to maintain the leather? We're so not into sneaker culture. As you can you tell?
I have about 3.
But you get into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, my husband loves.
yeah.
Like, he loves
It's
them.
Not like 300 deep.
No, but he probably like has.
Okay,
like
what are like
25.
some of your most prized possessions?
Well, and I won. This is the ice. That's what I tell you. There's a GM summit. They called the sneaker ball. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna win that sneaker ball. So I went and I got Mr. Cartoons. Back in the day, because we worked in that collaboration.
The Cortez?
Yeah, the Cortez, the Aztec ones. So I won sneaker ball with those, but I had not worn them in like 15 years. And I have like the first Kobe's, the first LeBrons, there's
God.
just so many in the collection that I have, and I have like all the Mr. Cartoons.
How do you choose what to like wear that day? Like,
I
what
think
do you choose shoes first?
Shoes
and then,
first.
Okay, got it.
And then there's always a story.
And do you always wear Snickers?
Always. Even nowadays, I've been so bad. Even at weddings, I'm like, sorry, I don't like heels.
What?
My husband's
That's
like,
dope.
the
That's
other day, he
dope.
goes, can you just wear some heels one day? I'm like, no, I love sneakers. And they're more comfortable and they hit my feet. So
That's why I love them.
It's been 18 years. I think the last 3-4 years, I don't think people have ever seen me with.
Yeah, I've never seen you without
No,
sneakers.
never.
So sneakers first, and then you're like, okay, out of this, let's build up.
Yes.
Got
Are
it.
you like, you remember that movie Clueless?
Yeah.
Share, you go in your computer and you're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh, okay, these ones are the ones for today.
Do you have
You're
any?
like,
You have any fave models right now, like this season, or does it go from this left, right, left? Like one day Cortez.
I mean,
one day Air
I'm a
Max?
Cortez girl.
Yeah.
That's my OG always.
Yeah.
I have, I think, every color, every collaborate. I mean, that's just, the other day too, my boss is like, I was wearing something like an Air Max. And he's like, I've never seen you without a Cortez. And I was like, oh my God, you're right. You haven't seen me. But I typically stay Cortez range. I do like the Air Max one and sometimes the Air
like
Force
the Air
one,
Max.
but typically I'm a Cortez girl. I love the Cortez.
awesome.
What's up?
Okay,
Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much.
Thank
Where can
you.
girls follow you on Instagram? Where can they like stalk you and Google you and fangirl you?
It's a fun handle. It's BGlow23. So it was funny. It's a funny story, but people used to always like make fun. They said I had like the Jennifer Lopez laugh. So then they call me BGlow. And then 23, yeah. That's what I'm saying. So funny.
Blanca Gonzalez. I was like, B-Glow. Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Like J-Lo, B-Glow.
Yeah.
Got it.
And then my favorite number is 23. So.
Oh, awesome. Jordan.
Jordan.
And
I only
it's
had the
not because of Jordan, honestly. It's just, I don't know why I've always.
So you were always meant to be Nike. You
Yeah,
see?
that's what I'm saying. And the City of Angels, all this.
You know
stuff.
what? When I was in high school, I never got to have Jordans. The most I had was Pippen.
Oh,
The
yeah.
tennis shoes.
I had Jordans. I had, the ones, my son has those now in red. He chose them in red. They're that shiny leather, like that
The
almost.
satin ones?
Not satin, the ones that, parecen de plástico. Like it's like a, like
Oh, yeah.
shiny
yeah,
plastic,
like
whatever.
charol, kind of.
Yeah, like charol. Yeah, like charol.
Tenis de charol.
Yeah, this is, I guess, early 2000s, 2001, around 2000, 2001 when those
Yeah.
Jordans came out, and they came out in baby blue and pink.
Oh, yeah, those are
I had
amazing.
the baby blue ones, and I wish I still had them. They will be hot right now.
Oh, yeah, very hot.
They will be hot right now. Well, my son has the red ones. Thank you so much again
Well,
I
thank
hope you
you.
come back.
No,
Yes,
thank you
thank
guys
you
for
so much.
inviting
It was
me.
so much fun.
No, me too.